as I turn the page, the last few I've been reading, I've been grousing about various things. The finger switching and stuff like that, and how it's harder to deal with that. But the reality is, those are great examples of the kinds of things where you basically just have to constantly read more material and encounter this stuff in the wild, because that's how you solve those problems, those real-time decoding problems, is you just run into them in real sheet music, and even things that are maybe more realistic complaints. I didn't like the roadmap for the 12 Days of Christmas, but you just have to encounter people maybe making editorially poor choices, in my opinion, about how to lay out roadmaps, to realize, oh, there's a lot of that, that really is a problem, where there's a lot of, not even just with roadmaps, with things in general, there are editorially poor mistakes in the way that people decide to write music. The engraving is just poorly done. But sometimes you just have to deal with that being a reality when you are reading. So you just have to read a whole lot of different music and encounter those problems, so that you're not always thrown off by them, and you get better at solving them faster. All right, what child is this? This looks a little more interesting with the accompaniment. I'm going to take it slow and careful. Ah. I think we missed a key signature somewhere. Carry the D sharp. Poor fingering choices. I do like this though. Okay, I actually really like this arrangement. I don't like when I don't like the. There's some historical thing to it, but whenever they do the, I don't like that as much. But it's something about that note being raised or not. That versus, I can't remember what the historical thing is, but there's something to that. And it's correct both ways, but I just prefer the other one. Otherwise, I do like the accompaniment. This is one of those things where you can fall into this pattern you're reading, and then suddenly the pattern changes, and you're like, crap, which totally happened to me. And I missed all those F sharps in that B7 bar. All right, let's read it again. There's where I really run into trouble. Fix that. Yeah, like that. Still not carrying those the D sharps. fingers again. I like how the accompaniment broadens out here. Yeah. Now, okay. Yeah, I'm just going to change that because I want to. And I would say if you were going to play this somewhere, you can just pick whether you want, what is it, the raised or lowered fourth there. Because it's kind of right both ways. I feel like everything else, yeah, anyway. You can make that decision and reharmonize if you need to. So, yeah, I really, really like this arrangement. The only thing that I run into problems with is I really feel like this one calls for a lot of pedal, but then like it can start to feel really detached when I have these big scalar runs. Because I don't, up to there I've been, and even the bar before. It's one of those things where I would probably just sort of pump the pedal to muddy it a little bit, but not too much. I mean, the thing is, I feel like in modern music, people from a very classical background often, they think you should never pedal unless it's written explicitly. What I find, especially in modern choral music, they assume that you're smart enough to know how to use the pedal. There are things, these big figures that are clearly written with the intention that you are going to be pedaling through things. You pedal harmonically. You'll sometimes see that as a marking, but most of the time people are like, okay, any pianist has musical sense enough to know this is meant to be pedaled and smooth. But then in places like this, like it's a judgment call. I just don't think I would like an unpedaled version. I'll try to read it unpedaled though. Now you could argue that I don't like the unpedaled version, because my finger legato is terrible. Both are true. It is true, my finger legato is not great, but I still feel like this really needs pedal, especially here. You lose all that broadness. Right, that's great. With all that pedal, that sounds good with the pedal. Versus, even when I can play it smoothly with, good fingers, it's not as good as. I'm so bad. I'm so bad at carrying accidentals. It's just, I think mostly that is it's a bandwidth problem where I'm so strapped mentally trying to calculate so many other things. What are my fingers doing, and what are all these rhythms? And there's so many moving lines simultaneously. But that is one of those things that just gets better because you practice doing it. It's not even practicing carrying the accidentals necessarily. It's that if you get good at reading everything else, suddenly it's less hard to keep all of that in your head, and then you have a little more bandwidth to spare for carrying accidentals across the bar. All right, moving on.